Welcome back, guys. First RMV here, back with part 8 of our mission command series, and today we're talking about the mission command principles. Right, this is the overview. So this is the foundation of what we're going to build our mission command principles. The following videos on. We're going to go more in depth with each individual principle, but this one here is a overview of all the principles and talk about them. So without further ado, let me go ahead and jump into the PowerPoint here, and we're going to get started. All right, so mission command principles, right? So these are the foundations or the building blocks to achieve mission command, all right? So if you're following along, I hope you're going back and watching the previous videos, because we're continuing to build and build and build on actually applying all the mission commands to what we do. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, by the way. I do appreciate all your support. I've received numerous emails already about this series. You guys are enjoying it, and I appreciate that. Or I do enjoy the feedback, so make sure you leave a comment down below. So mission command, okay, this is, like I said, this is an overview of the principles. So principles of mission command, okay? So mission command requires competent forces of an environment of mutual trust and shared understanding among commanders, staff, and subordinates, okay? We have to have a shared understanding between all levels of echelon. It requires effective teams and command climate in which subordinates are required to seize opportunities and counter threats within the commander's intent. As we talked in the previous video, commanders issue mission orders that focus on the purpose of an operation and essential coordination measures rather than on the details on how to perform assigned tasks, giving subordinates the latitude to accomplish those tasks in a manner that best fits the situation. But remember, ethical sound judgment, right? It all has to be ethical. The minimum number of decisions a single commander make and allow subordinates greater possible freedom of act to accomplish these tasks. All right. Successful mission command enabled by all these principles. So these are the principles of mission command. Okay, like I said, in the next couple videos, we are actually going to break these down one by one. But competence, mutual trust, shared understanding, commander's intent, mission orders, discipline, initiative, and risk acceptance. These are the principles of mission command is built on, and these are the principles that you should be working on in your organizations or units to achieve mission command. So principles of mission command, like I said, requires forces, right? So we've already talked about this. These are the building blocks in the foundation right here. I'm going to say them one more time. Competence, mutual trust, shared understanding, commander's intent, mission orders, discipline, initiative, and risk acceptance. So let's talk about competence, okay? Tactically and technically competent commanders, subordinates, and teams are the basis of effective mission command, okay? We have to have every level trained, equipped in both tactical and technical knowledge, okay? This includes your MOS as well, okay? An organization's ability to operate using mission command relates directly to the competence of its soldiers, all right? So train, train, train. Commanders and subordinates achieve the level of competence to perform assigned tasks standard through training, education, assignment experience, and professional development. We have to continue to develop at all levels of echelon. We can't stop growing and developing, whether it be professional or individual, whether it be college or whatever. We have to continue educating ourselves. Commanders continually assess the competence of their subordinates and organizations. Throughout mission command, we are always assessing, okay? This assessment informs the degree of trust commanders have in their subordinates' ability to execute mission orders in a decentralized fashion at acceptable levels of risk. Training and education occurs in both schools and units to provide commanders and subordinates the experience to allow them to achieve professional competence. One thing that I've seen to work that I try to do is I'll take an E4, E5, and I'll put them in my shoes for the day, right? What do I do? Where's my picture? What am I working on? Trying to get them to learn their place and how it all fits together. Repetitive, realistic, and challenging training creates common experiences that develop the teamwork of trust and shared understanding. All right, and this allows commanders the need to exercise mission command and forces the need to achieve unit of effort. So I recommend you look at ADP 7-0 for doctrine of individual and collective training. Leader supplement institutional and organizational training and education with continuous self-development, okay? Self-development is particularly important for these skills that rely on the art of command. And we're going to talk about the art of command in a future video. So, which is further developed by reading and studying the art of war, okay? We must understand the art of war. These skills can also be developed through coursework, simulation, or experience. So we're going to see chapter 2 when we talk about the art of command. Let's talk about mutual trust, okay? Mutual trust is a shared confidence between commanders, subordinates, and partners that can be relied on and are confident in performing their assigned task, okay? We have to build relationships. You cannot practice or have a mission command climate if you're not building relationships with your commanders, your leaders, your subordinates, and your soldiers. We have to build relationships and trust. There are a few shortcuts to gain the trust of others, okay? Trust is given by leaders and subordinates, all right? And built over time based on common shared experiences. It's the result of upholding the Army values, exercising leaders consistently with Army leadership principles, but most effectively instill the leader's personal example, okay? You need to lead by example. Mutual trust is essential to successful mission command. It must flow throughout the chain of command, okay? At all levels, we have to build the foundation of mutual trust. Subordinates are more willing to exercise initiative when they believe their commander or first sergeant, whoever their leader is, trusts them and believes in them. All right. They will also be more willing to exercise initiative if they believe their commander will accept and support the outcome of their decisions. Likewise, commanders delegate greater authority to subordinates who have demonstrated tactical and technical competency on the judgment they trust. So at the lowest levels, right, tactical levels, the ability to trust subordinates and formations to execute their collective tasks and battle drills, okay? So this is one of the reasons why we train, individual collective tasks, we build up to the company event, battalion event, and so forth. We have to train at all levels of echelon. Building trust is critical to rapid decision-making in high pressure situations. So I'm a firm believer that we need to make training stressful, all right? So crawl, walk, run, whatever you want to call it. But we have to make training stressful and as best realistic as possible in order for them to succeed actually on the battlefield. Commanders should be focused more on the problem to be solved when giving guidance than the methods that subordinates might use. All right. So throw the problem out there. One thing I've learned in my career so far is some of the best ideas are not my ideas. They come from E4s, E5s, the ones that are actually in the trenches doing the work, right? Accomplishing the mission or accomplishing the commander's intent. We have to be able to swallow our pride and our rank and accept their methods. Their methods may work a lot faster and a lot more smoother than us, all right? Subordinates must trust that commanders will employ mission orders to maximize intent possible when they have demonstrated the attributes and competencies expected. Commanders must also trust their colleagues who are commanding, supporting forces. They must earn their trust as well, okay? When a commander exercises initiative, trust gives other commanders at the same level of competence to synchronize actions for those of that commander, okay? Such actions, synchronizing operations without requiring detailed instruction from higher echelons, okay? Once established and sustained, trust allows each echelon to focus on the operation as a whole instead of the actions of individual subordinates, okay? So where do you fit into the picture? Trust is based on personal qualities, right? Such as personal competence. We're talking about character, commitment. You have to be committed. Soldiers must see values in action before such actions become the basis for trust. Trust is built through shared experiences, training deliberately developed by commanders or through the conduct of operations. During shared experience, two-way communication is the interaction among commanders. So the whole process of mission command, you've got to be able to communicate, okay? Interaction between the commander, subordinates, and soldiers reinforce trust. Soldiers expected to see members of the chain of command accomplish the mission while taking care of the welfare and leading them through shared hardship and danger. You have to be able to be in the fight with them, okay? You got to get dirty. Trust is also a product of common background, education, understanding the doctrine, common language of operations. I hate acronyms, right? So I try not to use acronyms as much as I can, right? Like a private, we need to be able to relay the information to the lowest level. And building trust and building the background, the education, understanding the doctrine, such as AD 6-0, 3-0, 7-0, whatever it may be, we need to build that foundation. So in some instances, trust may be solely on a common understanding of the approach to the operations, okay? This understanding creates a basic level of trust that until proven otherwise, new team members will conduct operations to a common standard. During large-scale ground combat operations where task organizations are likely to change rapidly, commanders and staff must assume a basic level of trust regarding the level of competence among their team members. So let's talk about shared understanding, right? A critical challenge for commanders and staff and unified action partners is creating shared understanding of an operational environment, an operation's purpose, problem, and approaches to solving problems. Unified action partners are those military forces such as governmental, non-governmental organizations, or elements of our private sector whose armed forces plan, coordinate, synchronize, or integrate during the conduct of operations. You can learn more about that in ADP 3.0. So shared understanding of the situation along with the flow of information to the lowest possible level, okay, forms the basis for unity of effort. If you see, we keep using the same words over and over, unity of effort, right? And subordinates initiative. Effective decentralized execution is not possible without a shared understanding. We have to know what our mission is, what the intent of the commander is. Shared understanding starts with the Army Doctrine and professional military education that instills a common approach to conduct of operations, okay? Whether it be a common professional language, a common understanding of principles of mission command. Army professionals understand that the most current Army doctrine is to ensure a minimum level of shared understanding for the conduct, right? So there's a reason why we teach out these things. It is shared understanding that allows even hasty task-oriented or task-organized units to operate effectively. Commanders and staff, create shared understanding through operational process, whether it be planning, preparation, execution, and assessment. All right. The collaboration and frame of operational environments and its problems, and they visualize approaches to solving those problems. So collaboration is more than just coordination, okay? It's multiple people and organizations working together towards a common goal by shared knowledge and building consensus. This requires dialogue. Like I said, we have to communicate through all this process. That involves the candid exchange of ideas or opinions among participants and encourage frank discussions in areas of disagreement, okay? It's okay to disagree, right? But you got to find a common ground. Throughout the operation process, commanders and subordinate staffs unify action partners collaborate by sharing and questioning information, perceptions, and ideas to understand situations to be able to make these decisions. Commanders create a learning environment that allows participants to think critically and creatively and share their ideas, opinions, and recommendations without fear of reproach, okay? So as a first sergeant, as a commander, as a battalion commander, whatever it may be, you need to be able to let people approach you and have disagreements, okay? We're not always going to agree, but we have to be able to build that trust in one another and also show the discipline for this. Participants must feel free to make viewpoints based on their expertise, experience, and insight, okay? This includes sharing ideas, opinions held by those at higher rank, okay? Successful commanders listen to novel ideas and counter arguments. Effective collaboration is not possible unless commanders enable it. It has to be enabled by the commander. Commanders establish a culture in their organization, okay? They recognize that they do not know everything, and they recognize that they may have something to learn from even the most junior subordinates. This is going back to what I was telling you. Some of the best ideas in the world are from the lower enlisted, right? They're the ones actually doing it. So listen to them, listen to their ideas, listen to their complaints and how they would do things. Commanders establish a command climate by personal example, coaching, counseling, mentoring. Routine occurs throughout the organization. We have to do that. This is a huge part of counseling. Okay, and I'm telling you, it goes all the way back to your integration counseling. You have to set the tone. This is what we're about. This is the intent. This is how we expect you to act, think. All right. Through such interactions, subordinates and partners gain insight into the commander's leadership style and expectations. Shared understanding both supports and derives from trust. However, like trust, it requires time to establish, okay? Commanders cannot assume shared understanding. Shared understanding is perishable, and commanders and subordinates must adequately communicate to maintain shared understanding, whether we're talking about situations, problems, or potential solutions. Commanders develop shared understanding in their organizations through training and by creating an environment of collaboration and dialogue. An important source of shared understanding is open and clear communication between leaders and soldiers. Okay, we have to be able to communicate clearly with soldiers and leaders. And when we get back to a little ways down the series, I put together a video talking about how to use social media and different platforms to reach soldiers and leaders so that you can actually put out the intent. All right. So commanders can also aid shared understanding by their demeanor and personal mannerisms that reinforce or at least do not contradict their spoken message. Okay. We have to believe in what we do. Units develop the ability to communicate through familiarity, trust, shared philosophy, and experiences. Share a common perception of military problems also leads to shared understanding. At each echelon of command, okay, commanders will have a slightly different understanding of the situation. Having a common perception of military problems does not imply any requirement to come to identical solutions. We're not all going to have the same solution to the problem, okay? Under mission command, understanding what outcome to achieve is more important than the agreement on how to achieve it. All right. I'm going to say that again. Under mission command, understanding what outcome to achieve is more important than the agreement on how to achieve it. Activities that can lead to shared understanding include collaboration among commander staff, professional development meetings, terrain walks, professional discussions, things that we do on a daily basis, right? So let's talk about a really important piece of this. It's called the commander's intent. Commander's intent is a clear and concise expression of the purpose of the operation and the desired military end state that supports mission command, okay? This provides focus to the staff, helps subordinates and supporting commanders act to achieve the commander's desired result without further orders or even the operation does not uphold its plan, all right? The higher echelon commander's intent provides the basis for unity of effort throughout the force, okay? Each commander's intent nested with the commander's intent 2 levels up. During planning, the initial commander's intent drives the course of action development, okay? During execution, the commander's intent establishes the limit with which the subordinates may exercise initiative, okay? Developing and establishing their left and right limits and, where they're supposed to operate in. The commander's intent describes what constitutes success for the operation, okay? Commanders convey their intent in a format that determines most suitable to the situation. It may include the operation process, key tasks, and conditions defined in the end state. So when describing the purpose of an operation, the commander's intent does not reinstate the why of the mission statement, okay? Rather, it describes the broader purpose of the unit's operation in relationship to the higher command's intent and the concept of operations. So doing this allows the subordinates to gain an insight into what is expected of them, what constraints apply, what most importantly, what mission is being conducted. If it's no longer than a brief paragraph that is probably too long. Okay, it has to be at least 1 paragraph. Key tasks are the most significant activity force as a whole to achieve the desired end state. Okay, key tasks are not specific tasks for subordinate units. However, they may be sources of implied tasks. Okay, during execution, when significant opportunities prevent themselves or the concept of operation no longer fits the situations. Subordinates use key tasks to keep their efforts focused on achieving the desired end state. Okay. Examples of key tasks include terrain the force must control or the effect the force must have on the enemy, okay? Commanders include the purpose of each associated task to facilitate the subordinate decision-making and exercise the discipline initiative. The end state is a set of desired future end states the commander wants to exist when an operation ends. Commanders may describe the operation end state by stating the desired conditions of friendly forces in relationship to desired conditions of the enemy terrain civil considerations. A clear, defined end state promotes unity of effort among the force with the unified action partners. The commander's intent becomes the basis in which staff, subordinate leaders develop plans and orders. All right, so a well-crafted commander's intent conveys a clear image of the operation's purpose and desired end state, okay? The commander's intent provides a focus for subordinates to coordinate their separate efforts. Commanders personally prepare their commander's intent. When possible, they deliver it in person. Face-to-face delivery ensures shared understanding of what the commander wants by allowing immediate clarification of specific points, okay? This is where that face-to-face comes in. Individuals can then exercise initiative when they're over guidance provided by the commander's intent. Commanders write and communicate their commander's intent to describe the boundaries in which subordinates may exercise initiative while maintaining the unity of effort, okay? Like we talked about, a clear commander's intent at the lower level leaders can remember and understand. Even without an order, is key to maintaining unity of effort. Soldiers 2 echelons down should easily remember and clearly understand the commander's intent. Commanders collaborate with subordinates to ensure they understand the intent, and subordinates who understand the commander's intent are far more likely to exercise disciplined initiative in unexpected situations. Okay, so it's all building toward disciplined initiative. Mission command requires the subordinates to use their judgment and initiative to make decisions that further the higher commander's intent. Subordinates use the commander's intent together with the mission statement and concept of operations to accomplish the mission. Empowered with trust, shared understanding, and the commander's intent, they can develop the situation, adapt, and act decisively in conditions. So let's talk about mission orders, right? So an order is a communication, whether it be verbal, written, or signal, that conveys instruction from superiors to subordinates, okay? We all know the 5-paragraph format: situation, mission, execution, sustainment. Command and signal is the standard for issuing Army orders, okay? Army commanders issue orders to give guidance, assign tasks, allocate resources, and delegate authority. Mission command requires commanders to issue mission orders, okay? Mission orders are directives that emphasize to subordinates the result to be attained, not how to achieve them. Mission orders enable subordinates to understand the situation, their commander's mission and intent, and their own tasks. Subordinate commanders decide how to accomplish their own mission. With the commander's intent and concept of operations, they set the guidelines for providing a unity of effort when allowing subordinate commanders to exercise initiative in planning, preparation, and most importantly, the execution of those operations. A mission order is not a separate type of order, okay? Rather, it's a technique for writing orders that allows subordinates maximum freedom of action in accomplishing missions. Mission orders should state the mission, the task organization, the commander's intent, and the concept of operations. Also talk about the tasks to subordinate units and a minimum essential coordinated instructions. Tasks to subordinate units include all the standard elements of who, what, when, where, and why, okay? With particular emphasis on the purpose of why. All right, why are we doing these things? Okay, provide the why in everything we do, and y'all tracking today's generation, they want to know the why. Okay, so with mission command, we can provide that why to them. Mission orders should focus on essential tasks and subordinates to accomplish, not extend the list of every task the unit may be required to accomplish. It should never repeat items that are part of a standard operating procedure or commonly understood by the force. Okay. Mission orders should not contain directives to subordinates that dictate how the task should be accomplished. Okay, this is the provenance of the subordinates. So, like I said, what's the end state? What we're trying to achieve? Why are we trying to achieve it? And allow your subordinates the left and right limits to achieve your desired end state. Mission orders contain proper level of detail in the context. Okay, they're neither so detailed that it stifles the initiation or so general that it provides insignificant direction. The proper level of detail and situational dependent. Some phases of an operation require tighter control over subordinate elements. Other phases require, just like what we talked about levels of control in the previous video. If you haven't had a chance to look at that video, I suggest you do so now. An aerosol air movement and landing phases, for example, require precise synchronization, okay? A ground maneuver plan requires less detail. As a rule, the base plan or order containing only specific information required to provide the guidance to synchronize combat power at the decisive time and place, allowing subordinates as much freedom of action as possible. Commanders rely on subordinate initiative and coordination to act within the commander's intent and the concept of operations. So when we're talking about graphics that accompany mission orders, should be drawn in a manner that allows maximum flexibility during execution, okay? They should provide enough control for those activities requiring synchronization, but they should avoid constraining subordinates' freedom of action with the areas of operation. Ideally, graphics provide enough references, such as checkpoints and phase lines, subordinate leaders to use them as a basis of shared understanding, okay? When deviation from the base order becomes necessary. Flexible graphics, and mission orders together create conditions for initiative and rapid decision-making. So discipline initiative, right? This is the next principle. Discipline initiative refers to the duty individual subordinates have to exercise initiative within the constraints of the commander's intent to achieve the desired end state. Simply put, discipline initiative is when subordinates have the discipline to follow their orders, adhere to the plan, utilize their orders, and the plan is no longer suitable for the situation which they find themselves. This may occur because the enemy does something unforeseen. There's a new or more serious threat. A golden opportunity emerges that offers greater chances of success than the original course of action. Right? Subordinate leaders then take action on their own initiative to adjust the new situation and achieve the commander's intent, reporting to the commander about the new situation when able to do so. Leaders and subordinates who exercise discipline initiative create opportunity by taking action to develop a situation without asking for further guidance. Okay. Commanders rely on subordinates to act to meet their intent, not simply to adhere to a plan that no longer works. All right. A subordinate initiative may be starting point for seizure, retaining, and exploiting the operational initiative. Like I said, we keep talking about that. Seizing, retaining, and exploiting the operation initiative, okay, by forcing the enemy to respond to friendly action. Sorry, I'm a little under weather. Operational initiative is setting the tempo and terms of actions throughout the operation, okay? Under mission command, subordinates are required, not just permitted, to exercise discipline initiative in the absence of orders, okay? When current orders no longer apply or when the opportunity, like I said, of threat presents itself. The collective effect of multiple subordinates exercising discipline initiative over set time over time set the conditions for friendly forces to seize the operational initiative in chaotic and ambiguous situations. The commander's intent defines the limits in which the subordinates may exercise initiative, okay? This allows us and gives our subordinates the confidence to apply their judgment to situations because they know the mission's purpose and desired end state, okay? They can, on their own responsibility, take action that it will be best accomplish the mission when communicating with higher echelons, where decisions must be made immediately. When exercising initiative, neither commanders nor subordinates are independent actors, okay? Subordinates consider at least two factors when deciding when to exercise initiative, all right? One, whether the benefits of the action outweigh the risk of desynchronizing the overall operation, and two, whether the action will further the higher commander's intent. The main consideration exercising the initiative is the urgency of the situation, okay? If time permits, the subordinates attempt to communicate to their new situation and recommend course of action to the commander. When subordinates communicate their inner intentions to their commander, the commander can assess the implications for the overall force or for other operations set in motion supporting actions. However, subordinates must depart from their orders when they are unable to contact their commander or when there is a limited amount of time to seize a fleet of opportunity. If doubt exists about whether to contact their command or depart from orders and act to seize a fleeting opportunity, subordinates should act, okay? If you have to think about it, you should act. If they can do so within the commander's intent, okay? If we can still exercise in the commander's intent, go for it. Fostering a climate or I can't talk. Fostering a climate that encounters initiative requires commanders to accept risk and underwrite the good faith mistakes subordinates in training, okay, before the unit is committed to combat. Commanders set conditions for subordinates to learn and gain expertise that they need to operate on their own. All right, subordinate leaders learn to trust. They have the authority and responsibility to act, knowing their commander will be back in the decisions, okay? Because mutual trust and shared understanding constitutes the foundation of subordinate initiative, commanders train subordinates to act within the commander's intent in these areas. That's why I'm telling you, it's extremely important when we do training to make it realistic and make it stressful. Make these leaders act. Make them make a decision. In general terms, okay, so now we're talking about risk acceptance. So in general terms, risk is the exposure of someone or something valued to danger, harm, or loss, okay? Because risk is part of every operation, it cannot be avoided. Commanders analyze risk in the collaboration with subordinates to help determine what level of risk exists and how to mitigate it. When considering how much risk to accept with a course of action, commanders consider it the risk to the force and risk to the mission against the perceived benefit. They apply judgment with regard to the importance of the objective, time available, and anticipated costs, okay? Commanders need to balance the tension between protecting the force and accepting and managing risks that must be taken to accomplish their mission. The greatest opportunity may come for the course of action with the most risk, okay? An example of this would be committing significant forces to a potentially cost a frontal attack to fix the bulk of the enemy forces in place to set the conditions for the environment by the forces, right? Another would be taking a difficult but unexpected route in order to achieve a surprise. If you look at 3-0, 1-68, while each situation is different, commanders avoid undue caution or committed resources to guard against every perceived threat. A unrealistic expectation of avoiding all risks is detrimental to mission accomplishment, okay? Waiting for the perfect intelligence synchronizing may increase the risk or close a window of opportunity. Mission command requires that commanders and subordinates manage accepted risk, exercise initiative, and act decisively, even when the outcome is uncertain. So reasonable estimation and intentional accepting risk is not gambling. All right, gambling is making a decision in which the commanders risk the force without the reasonable level of information about the outcome. So therefore, commanders avoid gambles. Commanders carefully determine risk and analyze the minimum as many hazards as possible, and then accept risk to accomplish the mission. So I hope this video was helpful. Like I said, in the next couple of videos, we're going to actually break down all the principles of mission command. Like I said, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys are enjoying the series so far. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, go Ordnance.